a warm June night in 1992, in Springfield, Missouri, 3 women went to sleep, and by morning they were simply gone. They left behind everything: their purses, their keys, their cigarettes, their jewelry, and a small dog waiting alone inside an empty house. There was no sign of a struggle, only a shattered porch light, swept away by a neighbor before investigators ever arrived. More than 30 years and 5,000 tips later, Sherrill Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall have never been found, and no one has ever been charged. What makes this case so deeply unsettling is not only what was taken, but what was left. A scene frozen in the last ordinary moment of 3 lives. The puzzle has never been solved. But together, you and I are going to lay every piece of it on the table. By the time we reach the end, the evidence will be yours. Weigh it, question it, and decide for yourself what happened on East Delmar Street. Chapter 1. The House That Waited. The morning of June 7, 1992, began as an ordinary Saturday in Springfield, Missouri. A friend arrived at 1717 East Delmar Street, expecting a cheerful post-graduation morning. 3 cars sat in the driveway, every one of them belonging to the household. The family dog moved in restless circles near the back of the house, alone. No one answered the door. Not after the first knock, not after the 5th. Inside, the lights were still on. The same lights burning from the night before. The stillness inside 1717 East Delmar was not the stillness of sleep. Investigators would soon document everything cataloged in that house. Suzanne Streeter, her daughter Stacy, and Stacy's friend Sherrill Levitt had simply vanished. Not a purse was missing, not a wallet, not a single key. Think about that for a moment. You leave your home, but you leave everything that lets you live outside it. If 3 women did not choose to leave, then something or someone made that choice for them. Let's open the board. The location: Springfield, Missouri, USA, and Sherrill Levitt, the victim, mother. Chapter 2. 3 women, 1 night. June 6, 1992, was supposed to be a beginning. Suzanne Streeter had just graduated from Kickapoo High School in Springfield, Missouri. Her best friend, Stacy McCall, had graduated alongside her that same afternoon. They had plans: a party, a sleepover, a whole summer stretching out ahead. Suzanne's mother, Sherrill Levitt, was 47 years old, warm, reliable, the kind of woman who left the porch light burning. Sherrill had worked that day, come home and settled in, waiting, the way mothers do. The girls changed their plans late that night, skipping the original sleepover to stay at Suzanne's house instead. Friends last saw Suzanne and Stacy leaving a graduation party together on foot, sometime before midnight. That places all 3 women, Suzanne, Stacy, and Sherrill, inside the house on East Delmar Street before 12 a.m. No neighbor reported a disturbance. No one heard a struggle. No one heard anything at all. Think about what that tells us. 3 people gone in a single night without a sound that anyone could name. Whatever happened inside that house, it happened fast. And when we step inside, the evidence will ask more questions than it answers. On the board so far, Sherrill Levitt, the victim, mother. Now we pin up Suzanne Streeter, the victim, daughter. Chapter 3. The Shattered Globe. When officers arrived at 1717 East Delmar on the morning of June 7, 1992, the house was still. No signs of forced entry, no overturned furniture, no visible struggle inside. Everything was ordinary, except for one thing. The glass globe of the porch light had been shattered, its pieces spread across the front walkway. In a scene with almost no physical disturbance, that broken glass was the only wound. Consider what you're looking at. A single point of violence in an otherwise untouched scene. What does that mean to you? Accident, struggle, or something placed deliberately? Before forensic technicians could formally document the glass, a friend of the family arrived. Meaning well, wanting to help, she swept the shards away. The evidence, whatever story it held, was gone before it could be properly read. No photographs of the pattern, no measurements, no analysis of how it broke. That broken globe, accident, signal, or the one clue that could have told us everything, is gone forever, and the house still will not say. On the board so far, Suzanne Streeter, the victim, daughter. Now we pin up Stacy McCall, the victim, best friend, and June 6, 1992. Girls attend graduation party. Chapter 4. The Erased Message. Somewhere inside the house on Delmar Street, an answering machine sat on a countertop. By the morning of June 7, 1992, it held at least one unplayed message. Someone had called the home that night, or in the early hours before dawn. That voice left behind a timestamp, a narrow window into the hours that matter most. Before investigators thought to preserve it, the message was accidentally erased. It was gone, not taken, not hidden, simply overwritten in a moment of ordinary carelessness. The Springfield Police Department logged the loss, but the recording could never be recovered. Think about that for a moment. Who calls a house late at night? And what do they say? Was the caller trying to reach Susie, or Sherrill, or Stacy, or all three? Does that call place someone near the house, or confirm they were somewhere else entirely? For a few hours on the morning of June 7th, the answer may have existed in that small machine, and then it simply ceased to exist, leaving behind a silence that the evidence so far has never been able to fill. On the board so far, June 6, 1992, girls attend graduation party. Now we pin up June 7, 1992. All three women vanish overnight. Chapter 5. The Scene That Couldn't Be Saved. On the morning of June 7, 1992, the first people through that door in Springfield, Missouri, were not investigators. They were friends, desperate, frightened, certain something was wrong. They moved through every room, calling the women's names. They touched doorknobs, dresser handles, the backs of chairs. Every surface they touched was a surface investigators could never fully trust. By the time detectives arrived, the forensic picture had already begun to dissolve. Investigators documented what they could. The purses still inside, the cars still parked, Susie's keys on the floor. But how many fingerprints, how many fibers, how many traces had already been moved or erased? No one could say. This was not negligence. It was grief doing what grief does. But think carefully for a moment about what the contamination itself might be telling us. If this scene was so thoroughly undisturbed before those first friends arrived, no alarm raised, no neighbors alerted, what does that suggest about how quickly the night ended for those three women? And somewhere inside the incomplete record that remained, investigators believed at least one piece of physical evidence had survived, something the chaos had not touched. On the board so far, June 7, 1992, all three women vanish overnight. Now we pin up June 7, 1992. Friends contaminate scene before police, and post 1992, 5,000 plus tips. No arrests ever made. Chapter 6. 5,000 tips, no answers. In the weeks after June 7, 1992, the tip lines never stopped ringing. Over the following decades, investigators logged more than 5,000 separate tips. Each tip opened a door, and each door eventually closed. One name surfaced with particular weight. A man already serving time for violent crimes committed in the same region. Investigators examined him closely. His movements, his known associates, his window of opportunity. No physical evidence placed him at the scene that night. Leads stretched across state lines, Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas, and still returned nothing. Three competing theories emerged, and they have never been reconciled. The first, someone the women already knew, trusted enough to open the door to, even late at night. The second, a stranger, methodical, experienced, capable of vanishing without a single trace. The third, and perhaps the most unsettling, a window of chaos so brief that Springfield simply looked away. Here is what I want you to sit with. Three women, one front door, and someone or something that moved through that night without leaving a mark. Which of those three possibilities fits what you know? And which one does the evidence refuse to rule out? Because when investigators finally turned their attention to the physical scene itself, what the evidence refused to say may matter most of all. On the board so far, post-1992, 5,000 plus tips. No arrests ever made. Now we pin up a key clue. Shattered porch light globe. Chapter 7. What the evidence refuses to say. The Springfield Three case remains open. No charges have ever been filed. No remains belonging to Sherrill Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, or Stacy McCall have ever been recovered. The absence of physical evidence is not the same as the absence of a crime. In a case this strange, silence is its own kind of clue. 3 purses, 3 sets of keys, 3 pairs of shoes, all left behind. Every car the women owned sat exactly where it had been parked. The interior of the house showed no sign of a struggle. Think about what that means and what it rules out. Consider the timeline, the layout of that house, the absence of any forced entry, and ask yourself, what scenario fits all of that at once? 3 women do not simply vanish, not without a reason, and not without someone knowing that reason. The most unsettling possibility the evidence refuses to dismiss is this: they may have opened the door themselves. On the board so far, a key clue: shattered porch light globe. Now we pin up a key clue: erased answering machine message, and a key clue: all belongings left behind. Chapter 8. Your turn. Build the theory. Every clue we have is now on the board. The broken glass that pointed inward, the answering machine message, erased before investigators arrived, the scene that was walked through before it could be preserved. June 7th, 1992. The last confirmed moment. All 3 women were seen alive. 5,000 tips came in, and none led to a single confirmed answer. Several persons of interest were questioned, then released. The evidence never held. Now, I want to hand this to you. Look at the timeline, the contaminated scene, the erased message. What does the pattern suggest to you? What kind of motive, what kind of opportunity could make 3 women disappear without a single trace? Share your theory in the comments. Reason through the puzzle with us. Subscribe, because the next case we open together holds a detail that has never been made public before. Back to the board.